What's up, everybody? Sadly, my friends, we are getting close to the end of Villains Month here, but you know we wouldn't leave you without doing at least one top 10. After all, during previous Villains Months, we've done the 10 most underrated supervillains, the 10 best comic book villains, and even the Joker's most shocking moments. Well, today we're keeping that tradition with the 10 best female villains in comics. Before we dive in, however, we want to let you guys know that today's episode is sponsored by Vikings War of Clans. You guys know that I'm a sucker for nostalgia, so if you're like me and find yourself missing those endless nights playing Warcraft, Final Fantasy, or maybe EverQuest, Vikings War of Clans is the browser game that will take you back. Vikings is a completely free browser game that has all the old strategies that had us addicted way back when, like reigning empires, forging alliances, and battling over resources. But it also allows you to compete in massive live battles with friends and foe alike, then you could brag about your victories with all the cool new social features. So support the Variant channel and become one of the 20 million plus active players. Sign up and start playing Vikings for free now by using our link in the description box, and when you do, you'll get the special bonus of a Novice's Relocation item and 200 gold coins as a kickstart. And don't forget to look us up under the nickname Variant Nation. We'll see you on the battlefield. And with that covered, let's talk some lady villains. Should also go without saying, but obviously this list is subjective, as there cannot be a definitive list with this sort of thing. It just comes down to opinion and personal preference. But either way, let's get into it with number 10. Kicking off our list is Leslie Willis, aka Livewire. She was originally created for Superman, the animated series, and was voiced by the awesome Lori Petty. But fans loved the attitude and overall tone of the character so much, she eventually made her comic book debut in Superman Adventures issue 5 in March of '97. She was a shock jock who hated Superman, tearing him apart on the radio all the time, calling him stuff like a freak of nature and a cape. Long story short, while being on a stage in the rain, she got electrocuted, giving her powers and turning her into Livewire, which essentially just gave her the power set of Spider-Man's villain Electro. With her new powers, she didn't have to stop bashing Superman on the radio. She can now bash him physically. Livewire is just a really fun villain with a cool look and personality who's powerful enough to stand up against Superman. And she's always been a favorite of mine since Superman the Animated Series. At number 9 is Lady Deathstrike. She first appeared as Lady Deathstrike in Alpha Flight issue 33 in April of 1986. Much like Livewire, I became a fan of her because of a cartoon series. In this case, that would be the 90s X-Men animated series. What can I say? Like most people, comic book cartoons was a perfect gateway for me to the world of comic books. Anyway, Lady Deathstrike is a terrifying villain. I remember her hands used to freak me out as a kid, being all big and sharp. And then her weird cyborg arms that looked like a metal rash was going up her arms. Just freaking creepy, which is about right because, well, villain. Anyway, she's a Wolverine villain, which in turn makes her an X-Men villain. Like Wolverine, her skeleton was infused with adamantium, making her skeleton practically unbreakable. If you guys remember her from X2, just know she's way better in the comic books and cartoons. She's also a cyborg with superhuman strength, speed, and agility. So she's just a little bit threatening to Wolverine and the X-Men, which is why she made this list. Next up is Granny Goodness. She first appeared in Mr. Miracle issue 2 in June of 1971. I feel like a broken record by now, but it was a cartoon series that made me fall in love with this character, which was Superman the Animated Series and Justice League Unlimited. But she's also been great in the New Gods and Mr. Miracle comics. For those of you who don't know, her role and whole concept is really cool. She's a new god and resident of Apocalypse. She's in charge of training new soldiers for Darkseid's forces. That's right, she's such a bamf, she trains Darkseid's military. She's also the leader of the Female Furies, one of Apocalypse's most elite warrior teams. She's extremely evil and ruthless, even though she may come off as a loving grandmother at first, which makes her all the scarier in my opinion. She's evil, ruthless, and is immortal with superhuman abilities. In a nutshell, she's an extremely underrated villain who trains Darkseid's best. At number 7 is Cheetah. She first appeared in Wonder Woman 6 in October of 1943. There's been several different versions of her over the years, but no matter which one you're talking about, she's been a thorn in Wonder Woman's side and one of, if not her greatest villain. Although the current Cheetah, Barbara Minerva, has been the biggest pain in her butt, Barbara was once an archaeologist who one day used an ancient ritual to turn herself into the avatar of a god. This transformed her into a humanoid cheetah, but things didn't go according to her plan because she didn't meet the requirement of being a virgin. Thus she was cursed to suffer from an unrelenting hunger for human flesh. Yeah, that's all kinds of messed up. But being a humanoid cat, she's extremely strong, durable, and fast. So fast, in fact, DC Comics recently confirmed she's the 6th fastest character in all of the DC universe, beating out the likes of Kid Flash, Shazam, Godspeed, and Wonder Woman. Which is extremely weird to me, but hey, I'm not the writer. Either way, she's a cool villain. Next up is Marvel's Enchantress. She first appeared in Journey into Mystery 103 in April of '64. Putting it simple, she's an incredibly powerful magical sorcerer and Asgardian goddess. All that in one. Crazy, I know. She has a ton of experience in sorcery and is easily one of Thor's greatest and most powerful enemies. What pushes her over the top as far as threats go is that Thor has been romantically involved with her on more than one occasion, meaning he has a soft spot for her, which makes it incredibly easy for her to enchant him, and then do whatever the heck she wants. Put it this way, her magical skills are so great she was able to utilize enough power even on Earth to cloud the sight of Agamotto through Doctor Strange's orb. Being that Doctor Strange is the greatest sorcerer in Marvel, that's crazy town. Making the top 5 is Poison Ivy. She first appeared in Batman 181 in June of '66. What makes Poison Ivy such a good villain is that she literally values plant life over human life. She'd rather save plants than humans. You have to be crazy to have that mindset. But not only does she love plants more than anyone or anything, she can also control them to have them do whatever she sees fit. For instance, by saving the world's plant life by any and all means necessary. Because of this, she's often referred to as an eco-terrorist. She can also easily mesmerize and manipulate people, especially men, by using her special pheromones. She's also an expert biochemist and can create her own mutant plants. What I'm saying is, she's easily one of Batman's greatest threats. Going back to the X-Men world, we have Mystique, who made her first full appearance in Miss Marvel 17 in June of '78. Mystique has been a part of the X-Men movie franchise from the very beginning, and that's because she's one of the X-Men's greatest villains. With her abilities to shapeshift and impersonate anyone, she is one of the best stealth characters in all of comics. She's also a good combatant and marksman, which is why it's a shame most of the time she works with the bad guys on the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, as a mutant terrorist wanting to bring an end to humanity. So it's easy to see why this ruthless super spy made the list. Making it into the top 3 is Jean Grey as the Dark Phoenix, first appearing in Uncanny X-Men issue 134. Now I know what some of you may be thinking, Dark Phoenix isn't a woman or a man, it's a force that can inhabit anyone. Though this is true, its most popular host is by far Jean Grey, thus making her a villain for this scenario. The Dark Phoenix's most prominent appearance was during the Dark Phoenix saga, which remains one of the most iconic comic book stories of all time. And during the Dark Phoenix saga, Jean blew up an entire solar system. An entire solar system, killing countless lives. And that's just one of the many evil things she's done. As the Dark Phoenix, Jean isn't only one of the most powerful female villains in comics, she's one of the most powerful characters in comic books, plain and simple. For that and that alone, she sits pretty at number 3. Coming in runner-up is easily my favorite female villain, and that would be Harley Quinn. First appearing in Batman the Animated Series, and then in comics in Batman Adventures issue 12. Initially a sidekick of the Joker, Harley Quinn has blossomed into a villain in her own right, becoming not only one of the most popular villains in comics, but in all of fiction. What makes her so great is that she's a crazy psychopath who by all accounts you shouldn't like, because again, psychopath. But somehow, because of her goofy, fun, and charming personality, you love her even though she's killing people or helping the Joker kill people. Her whole story and origin is really cool. As most of you know, she was Joker's therapist but then fell in love with him and became his sidekick, but he's always mean and abusive to her. And this makes you like her even more because you just feel bad for her. Heck, even Batman feels bad for her sometimes, and she tries to kill him. You just can't help but like her. I could keep going on and on why I love her character so much, but I'm assuming most of you love her too. With that said, it's time for number 1. Taking the top spot is none other than Catwoman, who first appeared in Batman issue 1 in June of 1940. Now, even though Harley Quinn is my favorite female villain, Catwoman has messed with Batman way longer than Harley has. And she's done so both physically and emotionally, as she's Batman's most reoccurring love interest, especially recently with Tom King's Batman run. Given Catwoman has often walked the line of villain and hero, especially recently, but you can't really argue the character's true nature is as a villain, as once she goes good, she inevitably always seems to find her way back to crime. But what I think makes her such a compelling villain is that she could pull on Batman's heartstrings like no other person can and make him act on emotion, which in turn means she's his greatest weakness in that sense. Heck, the two almost got married in Batman issue 50, but she stood him up at the altar. And no, that's not a spoiler, that issue came out back in July. It was even all over the news, so don't give me any of that's a spoiler bull crap. My point is, she can work on Batman's emotions like no other person, which makes her extremely dangerous to our hero. But just like that, that's our list. I'm sure your list looks different, so let me know what yours is in the comment section down below. First up for Wednesday, October 24th, we have Detective Comics issue 991. In this issue, the Dark Knight teams up with Two-Face and Commissioner Gordon to stop Cobra's terrorist attack against Gotham. Now we have The Flash issue 57. The insidious secret that corrupted Heatwave's mind is free and looking for a new host. Who's it gonna be? Here we have Spider-Geddon issue 2. The Inheritors have made landfall and have drawn first blood. Now the Spiders have to gather their army and start their missions. Next we have X-Men Black Juggernaut issue 1. Nothing could stop the Juggernaut. Well, that was until now. What has finally stopped Kane Marco in his tracks? You're gonna have to read this issue to find out. And finally, we have Justice League Odyssey issue 2. Cyborg, Starfire, Green Lantern, Jessica Cruz, and Azrael debate whether the so-called God of Evil, Darkseid, should have joined the team. And that's gonna bring another episode of Variant to a close, but remember the link for Vikings War of Clans is in the description below. Download a fun game and help out the channel. With that said, be sure to check out VariantComics.com as well as our social media. Links for those are in the description. But I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.